Hello again. I'm Roger Bowden, the president of Restaurant Rockstars, and I am a 23-year veteran founder restaurateur and now running Restaurant Rockstars. Puts me 30 years in the hospitality business. So I'm pleased to present a webinar for you today. And let me just briefly share my screen and I'll tell you more about it. This webinar is all about leadership and hospitality. I call it a new way forward because it's vitally important to take a different look at your business when it comes to leadership versus management. So, let me tell you first about myself. I've had success in the restaurant business for many decades as a restaurateur. I founded five high volume concepts from scratch. I'm now the host of the weekly Restaurant Rockstars podcast. I'll tell you more about that. I founded the Restaurant Rockstars Academy. You'll definitely learn about that, as well as the Sales Star Staff Training Program. I authored a couple of books, including Rock Your Restaurant, a game changing guide to restaurant finance. And I'm also the vice president and CEO and a founding partner in a hospitality technology firm called Hospitality Innovation Labs. Okay, the old way. This is pre-pandemic. People that were in a leadership position were really the boss and they were the manager or the general manager. And there was probably a mission statement in this business. And mission statements are terrible. They hang on the wall. Sometimes they're framed. Nobody pays attention to it. People walk by it. It's not something that's practiced on a regular basis. Now, the boss is someone who barks orders at people, tells them what to do. They might be in the office somewhere and they're just, you know, the boss and they delegate. Everybody knows that word. It means to tell somebody what to do or even how to do it. Employees were expendable. Yeah, if you're not good at this job, there's five other people that'll take your place. Yeah, right. Certainly not today. And then only the best people that really cared rose to the top of this organization. But chances are they didn't stay very long because they just weren't happy because they weren't empowered. They were told what to do by the boss. That's the old way. So, what is true leadership? Now, just because someone holds that title of manager or is promoted to be a manager does not mean that they're competent to lead. It does not mean that they inspire others to optimum performance, that they recognize talent in people, they nurture and encourage people, they give more responsibility, they lead by example. No, managers don't do that. Only true leaders do these things. We incentivize our people for taking on additional responsibility and doing a great job. We give recognition and rewards, and that's what builds a strong company culture. Huge difference there between being the boss and being a leader. Empowerment. Now, I love the word entrepreneur. I did another webinar for restaurant equippers that I hope you see also. And I explained that everyone knows what an entrepreneur is. We've all heard that word. It's someone who takes a risk to start a business hoping to make a profit. But an intrapreneur is an employee for that business where someone takes ownership, a vested interest in caring for that business and treating it as if they owned it and had to pay for it and help the owner build that business. That's an intrapreneur. That's someone who is empowered, not told what to do. Okay, they take pride. They grow themselves as people, they grow your business. Mentoring and shadowing is super important. When you've got really great players on the floor and you hire a new employee or team member, I like to call them, it's really important to have them shadow one of your best A players and even several of them, two or three, because everyone has their own style and best practices. And a new team member can learn so much from shadowing and being mentored by two or three of your best people before they get their own shifts or while they're learning on the job if they're in the kitchen. Okay. Sharing team spirit. They feel that culture. They like working with you and they like working with the other people on the team. And everyone just feels this sort of camaraderie. It's a fun place to work. It's a lucrative place to work. Those terrible places to work versus the people just feel something special. Okay, that's team spirit. And they deliver, as a result, amazing guest service experiences. Whether they work in the kitchen, they care about quality, they're putting out amazing food every day under pressure, or if they're interacting with guests, they're delivering amazing dining experiences. And this all reduces turnover because turnover costs you so much in your business. You can't afford to keep turning over people and trying to find new ones, especially this day and age. So, empowering people is a new way forward and being a leader, not the boss. Okay, let's talk about that mission statement versus culture. I already said, it's something that nobody pays attention to, but a true company culture is where people feel that team chemistry. There's mutual respect, there's teamwork. Everyone is moving in the same direction to help build your brand and help you run and grow your business. That's the dream team. That's having all A and B players. What's the difference between an A and a B player? My definition of an A player is someone who is personable. They make friends for your business every single day. They care about quality. They're reliable. They show up on time. They've got great personalities. They get along well with others, and their guests love them. That's an A player. Now, the B players are new hires. Now, the only difference is they probably have all those attributes. They have the personality, the right approach, the work ethic. What they might be lacking is maybe they've never worked in a restaurant before and they don't have any experience. But when they shadow your A players, when you train them, and you empower them to take on additional responsibility and to be the best person. Suddenly they're A players. And now there are no C players. Now you only have A players. And that is the dream team. Okay. My company culture in all of my restaurants was hospitality, family, and fun. We wanted everyone to understand and feel true hospitality. We wanted everyone to feel like family, the guests and the team, and we wanted everyone just to have great, fun, memorable experiences. That's hospitality, family, and fun. All right, fix what's broken. Give people a voice. People want to know that their opinion matters. That is super important, okay? Give them flexibility whenever you can. And I also recommend cross training if possible. Can you train people to take on and learn another job and even rotate them sometimes in different jobs just to keep them fresh in that skill set? Now, it takes a little homework and a little investment up front, but wow, does that pay dividends in a short period of time or even over the long term? When someone gets sick and they get the flu or they can't show up for work because they've got a child care issue, if you have other people that are adept at doing that job, even though it's not their primary job, that saves the day and the show must go on. And then ask them, what would make things easier for you? Is there anything broken? And they'll sing like canaries. If you don't ask, you don't get. In the last webinar, I told the example of just before the pandemic, I had the brilliant idea of buying another restaurant. I went through 2 years of pain and challenge with the pandemic, just like you did. So I understand what you've gone through. And I was able to sell that business. We improved that business. We turned it around, but it started with fixing what's broken. People get really uncomfortable when a business changes hands and when a business sells. They think, oh, everything's going to change upside down. I like things this way. That person's going to turn it upside down. Maybe they're a jerk. You understand that, right? I wanted to put everyone at ease. I interviewed every member of my new team one on one, and I explained who I was, what I had done, what my plans were for the business, and how I planned to empower them and give them responsibility only if they wanted it, and to give them recognition and rewards and truly care about their opinion. And then I said, what's broken? What's not working here that would make your job easier, simpler, more effective, more efficient? And they told me. And I wrote those things down. I had a baker whose mixer didn't work, and she had to put out this huge bake every single day, cinnamon buns and muffins. We fixed the mixer. The kitchen was too hot. We cooled the kitchen. We brought in new rubber mats and we gave them comfortable, cushy shoes that would, they're on their feet, right, for 6, 7 hours a day. We made things more comfortable. Boy, if that didn't improve morale and productivity, and people said, wow, we like things better than the way things were. That's fixing what's broken. But you don't ask, you don't get, and you wouldn't know because people just put their heads down and they do their jobs until they don't, and then they leave. And this keeps people, it lowers your turnover, it improves retention. It's about caring, it's about culture. Okay, job descriptions. This is a vital part of getting the most out of your people. I consult for restaurants, okay? I go in as a personal coach and they always complain. It's like, what's wrong with employees today? They don't do what I say. They don't do what I expect. They show up late. They call in sick. It's like, what's wrong? You don't have accountability. What's that? Well, your people, you never set a high standard. You never set the bar and made it crystal clear what you expected in every single job by every single team member and held them accountable to that. How do we do that? Do you have job descriptions in place? 9 out of 10 times, no, I don't have any job descriptions. I'm like, well, how do you expect people to know exactly what you expect of them and how to do their jobs if they don't have a roadmap to the best performance in that job? So I have a template in the Academy, and I'll share that with you at the end of the webinar. But the template is this. There's a job description template in there. It starts out with what I call key success factors at the top. These are simple words that describe what you expect that person to bring to the job to be more successful. If you're a front desk host, it's all about attentiveness, personality, accurate cash handling, things like that. If you're a busser, it's eyes wide open, it's hustle on the floor, it's communication with the host telling them this table is open. What do you expect them to bring to the table to be successful in that job? The most important part of the job description is the body of it, and it's the primary responsibilities. Imagine for every job, there's a different set of primary responsibilities. Maybe there are 5 key things if you're a dishwasher. If you're a server or a bartender, maybe there's 10 things. If you're a leader, it's probably 15 or 20 things. You get the idea. You as the owner, or even as the general leader who is hiring and training these people, you have a very good understanding of what you expect for optimum performance in every one of those jobs, or at least you should. I believe that that's knowledge that you should have. Anyway, you write in accurate detail all the primary responsibilities for every single job, 5, 10, 15 things. You get the idea. Now, that's vitally important as well. So once you have these primary responsibilities, I just need to plug in. Hang on a sec. Should have done that before the webinar started. Sorry about that. Okay, once you have all these primary responsibilities written down for every single job, next to each line item is a blank line. What's that for? That's the accountability. You sit down with each person, whether they're a new hire or there's somebody who's worked for you for a long period of time and they've never had a job description, and you go over, this is what I expect. And you ask the question, can you do this responsibility to the best of your ability? Do you understand what it takes? And can you do this? And if they say yes, you have them initial that line, RB, whatever their initials are. Maybe there's some training involved there, and then they sign after they've been trained. And then you sit them down and you say, okay, we've trained you to do this. Do you understand what we expect and how you're going to perform to the best of your abilities? They initial that line. At the bottom, the third vital piece of a job description is what can they do? What can you incentivize them to take on additional responsibility if they want it? If you work really hard and you master these primary responsibilities, here's where you can go in our organization. You can rise up and do this, this, or this. And if you do these things, you will get extra incentives and bonuses for doing so. Now, it's perfectly okay if someone is just perfectly happy in a job and they're a stellar performer and they don't want to do anything else. I would still recommend you cross-train them in another job. But to move up in the organization, this is what it'll take. This is what we're going to shoot for. And this is what you'll get when you get there. Wow, that's accountability. It's a very powerful tool. Have to have job descriptions. I had them in every single one of my restaurants for every single position. And we have a template in our academy for all the basic jobs in every restaurant that is a starting point. You can tweak them, you can change them, you can add to them, but essentially the framework is there. It's a turnkey tool. If you don't have the time to create your own job descriptions, they're there. Okay, mentoring and shadowing, very, very important. If you have A players in your business, you want to bring new hires in and have them shadow your best people. And I always recommend that they shadow more than one person because everyone has their own style of doing things, their own personality, and you can learn a best practice from 2 or 3 different people and apply your own personality and your own style utilizing these best practices. Okay, that's mentoring and shadowing. And in some cases, you don't turn them loose for a shift. Like if they're on the front of the house, then they need to shadow for a couple of shifts and follow someone else and watch how they do it before you just turn them loose on tables or at the bar. In the back of house, they're training while they're learning, and they're on the job training in the kitchen, of course. Okay, we talked about accountability with the job description, but here's how that works. Now, The 1 Minute Manager is a famous book. The author is Ken Blanchard, and I've changed the title. Okay, 1 Minute Manager is the title of this book. It's a great read. It's less than 100 pages. There's not a lot of, it doesn't take you a long time to read this because there's not a lot of information on every page. You can really cruise through it. But I changed the name because I don't use the word manager. I don't like the word manager. I like the word leader. So I call this book The 1 Minute Leader, but this is how it works. You catch people doing things right or going above and beyond and doing something amazing. And when you see this, you praise them, you give them, and this is just the title of the book, 1 Minute Manager. Maybe you can praise them for a minute. Maybe you praise them for 30 seconds or 5 seconds. It doesn't matter. The point is you catch them doing something right and you praise them. On the flip side, you've got that job description. Whenever you notice something going sideways and someone not performing the way they said they knew they could and they promised to do, you pull them aside in your office and you give them a 1 minute critique. Maybe it's longer than a minute. Maybe it's 10 seconds, 20 seconds. You get the idea, depending on the severity of what they're doing. Okay. But it's a critique, it's not a criticism. If we were talking about the old way, the boss would bark orders and say, get out there and do it the right way. A critique is throwing the ball in their court and saying, what can you do to get your performance back on track? And then you sit back and you wait for the answer, and they have to give you the answer. What are they going to do to go back out there to get their performance to where you expect it to be? And they know you're going to be watching, one, and two, they don't want to be called on the carpet and called back to, account for why they're not performing. They're going to change the behavior. Okay. Okay, that's a beautiful thing. And then monitor that change in performance. And then when they get back on track, give them that 1 minute praise or that 30-second praise or whatever it is. That's the 1 minute leader. Okay, disciplinary action happens in restaurants and it needs to happen. You need to have a disciplinary procedure. And this is all in the academy as well. But I recommend that you need accurate records. Every employee, every team member in your business needs their own personal file. You keep it on a computer, in the cloud, in a file cabinet. I don't care. Just keep accurate records. Whenever you have to critique someone for their performance, write it down. Whenever you praise someone for doing something great, write it down. Keep an accurate running history on every employee. This takes a little time, I get it, but it's conditioned behavior. Once you're used to doing it, whenever someone does something great and you praise them, go in your office and type it up. Add it to the cloud, add it to the sheet on the computer, the file, print it out, whatever. Just keep accurate records, okay? Now, when someone needs discipline, there are minor causes of action and there are major infractions. And then in the template, of course, we define some of those actions and what you can do to maintain discipline. Okay. Harassment issues, there are reasons you need to terminate people with zero tolerance. There are people showing up late multiple times. That's a minor infraction. There are consequences, and there's a list of how to handle every situation. Whenever you notice something going sideways, there are write-ups. You write somebody up and you document it, because there are labor departments in every state. And sometimes an employee can go complain to the labor board about you. But if you've got copious notes and records about your version of what happened, chances are you're going to win the action, provided you're honest about that. Know what the consequences are for every level of infraction. Again, there's a template for that in the academy. And then there's something called the performance leadership record, which is a really beautiful thing also. It's when every so often you ask your team to critique your performance, and you got thick skin and no one's going to insult you, but you ask for honesty. How can I improve as a leader? What have you noticed that I may have missed or I could be doing better? Because it's not just about the employees or the team members. It's about the whole organization rising to the challenge, being the best they can be. Okay. This is the team review, the performance record. Okay. Ask for honest, valuable feedback. How can I improve? Again, you don't ask, you don't get. And that creates a happy, empowered team. I talked about this in my last webinar. You want to incentivize your leaders to improve your business for being the entrepreneur within your organization. Create a loyalty program, increase takeout and delivery, create a catering program. Private parties and events are very profitable. If you don't have that, you want to start it. If you sell draft beer in your restaurant, or even if you have a busy coffee shop, you can start a mug club that brings in membership cash flow, free and clear cash flow, because you can get a sponsor to sponsor your program, and you can charge a membership fee every year for people, give them great experiences and great service, and they'll pay you for the privilege. But the kicker is they will come in more often into your business and spend more money if they belong to an exclusive mug club. We have a complete turnkey training course in the academy on creating the mug club. All right, cash cows. This is a marketing idea. Now, maybe you've heard the term, maybe you don't know what a cash cow is, but a cash cow is something that's unique and special and different about your business that sets you apart from all the other restaurants out there. Maybe it's a menu item, maybe it's many menu items, maybe it's a really cool thing, or how you recognize people, or maybe the mug club. It's like all these things are cash cows. I had several cash cows in my business. And the most important one in my wood fired pizzeria was wood fired garlic knots. Now, it was a cash cow because I had a professional dough rolling machine and we costed out every single dough ball in our restaurant. We knew exactly how much that dough cost and the cheese cost and the sauce and all this thing. And that dough, I was going to obviously make a pizza out of. And once we rolled that dough out and it came out of the machine, it would overlap the pizza pan by about an inch or so, or an inch and a half. Now, we would trim that around the edge of the pizza pan with one of those pizza cutters, and then my pizza makers would tie those into knots, and they would sprinkle a little Parmesan cheese and a little garlic, minced garlic on there, and they would olive oil them, and they would bake up in this brick oven, and they would expand because dough rises in the oven. Well, that dough was absolutely free for those garlic knots. It was no cost to me. The only cost was we gave them a ramekin of homemade marinara sauce that we figured cost us about 28 cents to put out. They could dip, it's like a dipping sauce for the garlic knots. But otherwise, the dish was 28 cents cost. We charged $10 on the menu for them and we sold thousands. They become our most popular appetizer. The aromas, the smells, you put it in front of someone, it had what I call wow factor, and I could afford to give them away. Okay. So we created a marketing program where I created these coupons and I went to non-competing businesses. They weren't restaurants, they were, beauty parlors and retail shops and a movie theater and boutiques and all that kind of stuff. And I said, hey, I'm opening a new restaurant and I'd really like to introduce your customers to my new restaurant. And I'm going to give you a series of coupons that offer a $10 value, free appetizer worth $10 to your customers if they come in, have a drink, sit down, have a meal, whatever. $10 appetizer, absolutely free. And if you stamp the back or write your initials so I can track where it's coming from, I'm going to give you, the owner, 10% back in trade at my restaurant before tax. I'm going to track the spend and you'll get 10 cents on every dollar of sales that you drive in my door. Some of these businesses sent me $15,000 of new business over the course of a month because we tracked it. The server, the bartender would staple those coupons to the guest check, and then my office manager had a spreadsheet and she would track all this. All this is in the academy, of course. And we figured out that the average spend, because no one came in alone with the coupon, they would come in with another person or with two other people. The average spend over a period of time was about $75 or $80 for the cost of 28 cents garlic knots. It was huge, okay? And then we came up with a lottery ticket. I talked about this in the last webinar. This is also in the academy. I was at a convenience store and I'm waiting in line because the two people in front of me can't decide what ticket to buy. And there's all these rolls, these colorful lottery tickets. And it suddenly struck me, wow, that's really cool. What if we created our own custom branded lottery ticket with our name and our logo on it? Wouldn't that be unbelievable? And what's under the little scratch off is a cash cow. And every single ticket I wanted to be a winner. So we had 5 or 6 different cash cows. We randomly shuffled these things. And whenever someone came in and used that first garlic knot coupon, I wanted to get them back again for a second visit. So we put a lottery ticket in the check presenter after the customer paid the check. And now this is an incentive to bring them back in again for the second visit. I knew we were going to give them great service. They were going to enjoy the food, but I wanted to make sure they came back again. And what happened? They put these things in their wallet. Oh, wow, I just want to exit such. I'm going to come back. They'd put it on the refrigerator under a magnet, and then we'd see them a week or two later. And then my staff would track these, and they would staple them to the guest check. And what happened? They spent another $80 on average for the cost of 28 cents or whatever the garlic knot or what cash cow that was. So these are powerful marketing programs based on cash cows. I got off track a little bit, but these are incentive bonuses for your team. You can incentivize your team to create these programs and build your business. Ordering efficiency is very important. If you've got a kitchen leader, they must order efficiently. You don't want to run out of anything, 86, but you also don't want your stuff lying around and perishing and spoiling and throwing it in the trash or walking out the door as theft. It's a real sweet spot to order efficiently based on your volume, your projected volume, knowing how much to order of everything every week where you just At the end of the weekend, your walk-in, your coolers are wiped out, but you didn't throw anything away. Nothing got stolen. You didn't 86 anything. That's the sweet spot. You can empower someone in your kitchen to do that. It's a real skill set. Okay. And then finally, my kitchen manager came up with these off the menu specials. They were more profitable. They're a little bit more expensive than our regular menu items, but they gave our staff, our team, things to suggest that were different from our regular menu. And we sold tons of them on weekends mostly, and it was profitable. What's the bottom line? I incentivized my leaders in my business to implement these programs in all my restaurants, and it increased our sales and it increased our profits, and I gave them a piece of the action. It was really powerful stuff. Okay, battle stations. This is the business of 1,000 details. I always told my staff, okay? And even if we get 990 of those details correct, it's the 10 we miss that the guest always sees, right? So see what the guest sees and fix it before the guest sees it. So battle stations, we assigned everyone. First of all, I wanted every employee, every team member to walk through the front door. Everyone's got a set of eyes. I wanted them to notice. We empowered people to see things that they could fix and fix them, okay, if they were broken. Was there trash in the parking lot? I wasn't too important to walk through the front door, see a piece of trash, pick it up. Are the windows dirty? Here, grab the Windex and quick, clean that window. Are there light bulbs burned out? Here's where the light bulbs are. Fix the light bulb. There's the ladder. Okay. We empowered people to do this, and it became everyone's job to notice. But then everyone in the front of the house had battle stations. You're in charge of this section. And before we open the doors, you've got to police that section. Are the condiment containers clean? Do the tables wobble? Is there gum stuck under the chair? All this stuff. Fix it before the guest sees it. And pretty soon there was nothing that the guest would see that's amiss. And these are all impressions. And we wanted every impression to be a positive one. All right. Treat the business as if you owned it and had to pay for it. Again, we were developing entrepreneurs and we were incentivizing people not to break things. And we went so far as to have open book management to a very limited degree. Okay, everyone, when I first started this steakhouse, thought, oh, every time Roger sells a $25 steak, Roger's putting 25 bucks in his pocket and he's getting rich and we're doing all the work. This is the mindset of some of your team. They don't know you've got a whole laundry list of expenses against that dollar unless you show them. So I put $25 at the table. Roger sold a steak. The cost of that steak was $4.75 just for the steak. The cost of the cook to make that steak was 50 cents. The cost of the linen and the cost of the silverware and the cost of the dishwasher to clean that, blah, blah. You get the idea. Now here's the lease. Okay, if we sell 1,000 meals a week or 1,000 meals a day, this is the cost of goods on that. This is the labor cost against that. And it was a laundry list, right? And here's the bottom line. Okay, we sold the steak for 25 bucks and now the profit left over is more like $4 or whatever it was. And we trained people that. So we said, okay, the plates are very expensive in the steakhouse. Every plate costs $10. And now if you break a plate, then that $10 profit just came off the $25 steak. And now the profit just got diminished. And now we might be losing money based on all these other expenses. Take care, be careful with things. Treat the business as if you owned it and had to pay for it. And boy, if that didn't stop breakage, because suddenly people knew, they understood, they wanted to be part of a team, they wanted to do things the right way, they wanted to please us, they wanted to be recognized and rewarded. Okay, let's talk about recognition and rewards. We had a program called Difference Dollars every single week. And this is how it worked. Now, maybe I recognized or nominated someone because I saw them doing something amazing that went above and beyond their typical job on the job description. These are the kind of things we wanted to see our people doing. Maybe another employee knocked on my door and said, "Hey, Roger, did you hear about what Bob did or Jimmy Johnson, whatever?" No, tell me about that because it was important. I wanted to hear my people and I wanted to treat them with respect and give them a voice. So we did that. We would have this program called Difference Dollars. Now, I had different restaurants that had different numbers of employees. I think my smallest restaurant may have had 25 to 30 people, and my biggest restaurant had like 55 people. We did this in all the restaurants. And every week, I wanted everyone to take part in the program. So we did the Difference Dollars on Friday and on Saturday. And here's how it worked. Whoever got nominated, I would nominate one person on Friday and one on Saturday. We would gather the whole team together in the kitchen or in the dining room, wherever, and they all knew what it was, and it was different dollars. And over time, they really appreciated it, and it was really a lot of fun. I would get up on my soapbox and I would say, and this week's winner is Jimmy Johnson or Bob Wallace or whatever it was. I would give Bob or Jim or Sally, whoever, a $20 bill and a can of Red Bull. I would thank them very much, but I would go into glowing detail for the rest of the team exactly what they did that made a difference. Give them the can of Red Bull and the 20 bucks. Everyone would clap and go on with their jobs. I would go into my office and I had a template on the computer and it said big and bold, difference dollars. And then big and bold, I would type in their name, Sally Johnson or Billy Bob, whatever it was. And then I would type again in glowing detail exactly what they did that made a difference. I had all these frames from Walmart or Target or whatever, the 8.5 by 11 ones. And we hung them in the kitchen and in the employee break room and in the employee bathroom and in the hallway and everywhere behind the scenes in all my restaurants. And when I sold those restaurants in 2014, they were all over the place. Okay. So the most gratifying thing to me was hiring a new team member, and they're working maybe 10 minutes, half an hour. They were new, whatever it was. They're on break, maybe an hour later. They're drinking a soda. And I'm noticing them walking down, reading all these things. And it just spoke volumes about our company culture, about what our expectations were, and how the team spirit carried that restaurant. And they either fit that culture or they suddenly realized, I either want to be a part of this or I just don't fit, and then they move on. But that rarely happened. But we didn't have to fire people anymore. It just up leveled the entire organization. Okay. We had gift cards. I would trade gift cards for gift cards. I would go into different businesses in the local area and I'd say, hey, I'll give you a 10 or 15, $25 gift cards to my restaurant if you give me 10 or 15, $25 gift cards to your business, movie theater, whatever, car wash, whatever, gas station, didn't matter. And now I got valuable prizes to hand out whenever people did amazing things. Okay, we bought movie tickets. And if someone did something cool, it's like, hey, go to the movies on me. And we all up leveled the team by doing this. And then finally, prizes. I told this story in the last webinar. We all have suppliers that we do lots of business with. We probably spend lots of money every single year. This is a business of relationships. And we have food suppliers, and we have beer distributors and liquor companies, and you name it, linen, it doesn't matter. We have lots of people we do business with. I met one of those businesses one day doing a tour of their facility, and I walked by a conference room, and there's all this valuable merchandise on the table. There's sporting goods, there's electronics, there's wearables like hoodies and t-shirts and hats and neon signs and all kinds of stuff. And I said, what's that? And the representative I was dealing with, or the leader of that business that I'd worked with for a long time, said, oh, we do business with lots of companies and we spend zillions of dollars with those companies. And we ask them for valuable merchandise that we can use for employee incentives. Only problem is, and it's a good problem to have, is we get more stuff than we can actually give away. And we don't just want to randomly hand it out to our employees unless they earn it. And a lot of that stuff ends up in the warehouse collecting dust. And then we have to figure out something else. I'm like, wow, I've been doing business with you for years and I would love to start an employee recognition program too. I'm like, can I have any of that stuff? And I thought maybe I'd get one or two items, to walk home with. The guy's like, yeah, I'll see what I can do. So I didn't think too much of it. The next day, truck shows up with my delivery and all that stuff. I'm saying the entire table full of stuff shows up and it's walking in my business. I had to clean out a supply closet and literally put everything else elsewhere because now I had so much stuff to store. And what was really cool for me is I mentioned maybe I hired a new dishwasher and they're there all of a half an hour doing an amazing job. And I'd go up to that dishwasher and I'd say, hey, great job. Thanks for doing that. Let's go take a trip to the closet. And that person had no idea what I was talking about. And they suddenly got all nervous and jerky. I'm like, no, no, it's a good thing. Just come with me for a minute. And they'd follow me and I'd open the door and then there's the treasure chest. And I'd say, see something you like? It's yours. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I really love what you did. You're doing a great job. I really value your approach to the job. Pick a prize and it's yours. Take it home. And they're like, oh, wow, that's so cool. And boy, if that didn't up level morale. So recognition and rewards are the rubber that meets the road to up level your company culture and your team performance. All right. The next step and accountability. You've got the job description, you've got the sign off and every primary responsibility line item, and you've got your employee records that state, oh, every time they did something great, it's documented. If there were disciplinary procedures, it's documented. Now you go through the job description and you give them a letter grade on every one of those primary responsibilities. And maybe it's an A, and maybe it's a B, and maybe it's not so great if you had to reprimand somebody several times. But over time, their performance goes up, and then you give them an overall score and you critique that score and either praise them wildly for being an amazing employee and I wish I had 30 more people like you, or you say, this is what you can do to get up to the level to earn bonuses and incentives and to move up in your position, like I talked about. So you grade those primary responsibilities, you give them an overall grade, you explain room for improvement, and then are they in line for a bonus? Performance reviews. Takes a little homework, but again, the template is in the academy. We did all the work for you. Okay, we also had a weekly leadership meeting, which is vitally important. I would prepare a detailed agenda. I would sit down with my leaders and we would talk about what's going well, what went sideways. We debrief our goals and performance. What happened last week? What did we decide that needed to improve? And this week we worked on it. Did it work or didn't it? We debriefed last week's meeting and we talked about past and new actions and then new ideas. Okay, who can we incentivize to create that catering program or start private parties? Or you get the idea. Weekly meeting. It doesn't have to be long. Most of our meetings are about 20 to 30 minutes, but it's vitally important to empower your leaders. Okay, that's the webinar, but stick with me for a moment because I still want to tell you about a couple things. The podcast, the Restaurant Rockstars podcast, is absolutely free to you. I interview some of the leading lights of this industry, top operators, people in finance, in technology, in guest service. Everything that will improve your business, I talk to the best people. Equipment, I interviewed the Restaurant Equippers guys, and we talked all about what's Restaurant Equippers all about, and what kind of brands, the top brands that they carry, and the value, and how they literally shop the world to bring you amazing goods that'll help you run a better restaurant. So look for that episode. You'll see on the telephone here, on the cell phone, that's John Taffer. I interviewed him a couple weeks ago from the hit TV show Bar Rescue. Amazing guests all around. Absolutely free. If you go to my website, restaurantrockstars.com, you can get this in your email inbox every single week, absolutely free. We won't spam you. You'll get it as a video if you like to watch my guests, like you're watching me right now, or you can listen when you're walking the dog or driving to work. Or if you like to, subscribe to podcasts, it's on every major podcast player, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Audible. It's all there and it's free. We have I think I've recorded 400 episodes now over the past couple of years. Every week it's a new episode. And you can actually go back at Restaurant Rockstars in the archives on my website podcast page and you look up our past episodes, who the guests are, what the topics were, and it'll help you improve your business absolutely free. Okay, let's talk about the Academy. Now, I have a partnership with Restaurant Equippers, and we have a special deal for Restaurant Equippers. And if you use the promo code at restaurantrockstars.com on the Academy page, promo code is REROCKS15. I'll give you 15% off just for Restaurant Equippers customers, or if you're listening to this webinar. It's $59 a month. It's a membership, but you can cancel at any time, no questions asked, money back guarantee for the first 30 days, but we can save 15% off of that. What's the Academy? So I talked all about leadership today, but the Academy is much more than that. If you're starting a very first restaurant, it's logistics. It's everything you need to open the doors to run that business. Everything from writing a business plan, getting your place funded, to buying equipment, to working with bankers and lawyers and CPAs and negotiating leases. It's everything you can think of. It's policies and procedures and working with your team. And it's a lot of the leadership stuff we talked about. It's all of that, actually. That's logistics. Then we have a finance section. It's all about putting an inventory system in place, calculating your food, beverage, and labor costs, your daily break even, the financial controls to make sure you're going to make money. That's all in there. Staff training system I created, Sales Stars. It teaches everyone to recognize opportunities and to deliver amazing dining experiences, to have product and restaurant knowledge to make suggestions that increase your sales. That's Sales Stars. We have a marketing section that teaches you how to start that mug club, how to do the cash cow coupons, the lottery tickets, proven marketing that's trackable, where you know that every dollar that you spend and it's inexpensive is coming back to you many, many times. And that's return on investment. And then new profit centers, how to establish a catering system in your business, how to bring in games that entertain the kids that'll actually pay you, pool tables and arcade games, live entertainment, how to start a live entertainment program. These are all additional profit centers. Best part is you do not have to follow this. You're not going back to college or high school here. You don't have to take this course and start at point A and go to point B. You decide what's important to you. Is it sales stars training your staff? Is it the financial piece and putting inventory and cost of goods calculations in place? Is it marketing? You can go to all these things. And then second best of all is you have access for 25 of your team members in your business to learn this material, to be entrepreneurs and to help you run your business. And you can actually track their performance and they will put these systems in place in your business. Okay, 59 bucks a month, no brainer, 15% off, RE Rocks 15 promo code at checkout at restaurantrockstars.com. Thanks so much for being here. Again, that's our website, restaurantrockstars.com. Thank you for being a Restaurant Equippers friend or customer. We'll see you next time.